So we were using this the other day, and I wanted to go over it again, not for the point of clarifying a process called self-inquiry, though that's what we're using to get to something else, yeah. But this is based on if you don't know what self-inquiry is, it's pretty simple. There's an asking of something from whence it came or who is it, yeah? Because the belief in Ramana, I feel his teachings is, if you follow not forward, which you'll probably inevitably get back to where you are, but it may take a lot of time. But it's easier just to go back, and however you go back, you're going to go back to the source, or what there's no escape from, yes? So going forward to trying to get to the source will probably be successful by failing, and it will take a whole lot more time. Going back is much easier. You just step back, and it may take any need to try to keep looking forward away. Yeah. So he says here, because this is something that you can see it in the Course in Miracles, where they say basically every way will work based on the intention or the purpose of it. That's been given by mind, big M mind. So everything's going to work, but it's probably going to take a lot more time and a lot more stress and sweat. And if you're reading this book, meaning the Course in Miracles, it says it's here for one of the reasons it's here with you now is to save you time. Well, here we're at a living book called Satsang, and basically the same attitude can be applied to this, yes? That maybe this is what you're looking for. So he goes, okay, when you inquire within, who am I? Now, try to follow this, if you say. The I concerned is the ego. Let's call it the ego. We would call it a sense of self, yeah? But let's use the terminology here. So when you inquire, the target is this ego. We're asking the ego, who am I? Yeah, most people get that. It is that which makes inquiry also. So basically, that which makes the inquiry and that which is being inquired is the same. It's not you, yeah? Now, a lot of times people believe it's them asking what they're not, who am I? Yeah, but it isn't. It's both not you. So that which is being asked, who am I? And that which is asking, who am I? Neither of them are us. Fantastic, eh? So this is the same thing of the idea of there's the objectification of the experiencer, and then there's a subjective take on it. Both of them are bogus, yeah? Both of them don't have anything to stand on, but they're standing on the source, so to speak, yes? They're deriving their own reality from a reality. Yeah, all right? It is that which makes the inquiry also. The self has no, and when he's talking about self, it's a big S. So the self has no inquiry. It's not saying shit. It's not jumping. It's not like the third commentary on the second observation. Yeah, there's no point where it says shit or it comes and tells you. Yeah. So that which makes the inquiry is the ego, and that which is being inquired about is the ego. So the I about which the inquiry is made is also the ego. As the result of the inquiry, the ego ceases to exist. Yes. So if you've ever done it, the one balloon gets popped and the other balloon pops like at the same time. Why is that? So the who am I gets popped, and then the asker of it gets popped at the same time, gets the same fucking activity. Yeah? There's not a second where this shows up and yes, they both collapse. And when they both collapse, there's a sense of what you are. Yeah? Because you're on, existence continues. When both of you die, seemingly, or disappear, there's an appearance of awareness. So, it's sort of like, when they used to have the three people, who are you? And then one would drop out, the other, and then you'd get to the real you. Well, this is sort of like that. The two get negated off the game show, and there you are. And you've never not been there. Yeah? All right. So I'm going to jump into the next paragraph. What is the best way of killing the ego? Losing interest in it. That's my opinion. But let's just say, all right. To each person, that way is best which appears easiest or appeals most. Yeah. So basically, it's like you're writing your own menu. Yeah. Basically, what an incredible restaurant. The restaurant's special of the day is always going to be what appeals most to you and is the easiest. That's incredible, eh? Well, I'd like to call that number up. You're home. So what is the best way of, can you hear me, Mike? It's all right there? Something's beeping. What is the best way of killing the ego? To each person, that way is best which appears easiest or appeals most. All the ways are equally good. Yeah? And in a sense, they're equally bad and their value is to fail you. Really? Yeah. As they lead us to the same goal. Yeah. And then when you arrive at the same goal, there's a sense on having never left. So all the leading to the same goal, why they all work is because there's only that you never left. So if whatever is working and leads you to that point, the point is on having never left. It's beautiful, eh? So you could have billions of things that would lead, even though they were going exact opposite directions, they'd still lead you to the same thing, the basis on having never left. Yeah. So what the bhaktis, or the devotional people, call surrender, the man who does inquiry calls knowledge. Yeah. Both are trying to take the ego back to the source from which it sprang and make it merge there. Now, I don't believe you need it. Well, whatever. I have my own opinions about merging and stuff like that, because I think that which wants to merge has already gotten negated from the first paragraph. Suddenly it appears again, and now it's going to be that which has to decide to merge or not in the infinite. I don't see that. So to ask the mind, the small mind, yeah, to kill itself is like making the thief the policeman. Yeah. He will go with you and pretend to catch the thief, but nothing will be gained. So you must turn inward and see where the mind comes from, and then it will cease to exist. I believe it seeks to exist, and then you see that. I don't believe it was existing until that point. I believe that point just wakes you up to that was seeming to exist, never existed at all. So there's a surety in the absolute negation. It's not a negation that has a secondary fear of resurrection. That which is being negated doesn't resurrect. It may appear over and over again, but it never takes form. Yeah. We give it the form and the name it derives. Yeah. And when you lose interest, that name and form is worn loosely, and you just travel lighter. Yes. As this experience of being the interface with consciousness contact. Yeah. Yeah. So there's another point. I was running late. That was funny. See, if I realized my running late to the meeting was why I was going to stay at really where the meeting's going to be. I didn't see that. There was a lack of wisdom. But my just running late was telling me, you don't have to go anywhere. They're all coming to the house. But instead, I drove down and whatever. So there's other points where Ramana talks about this because it seems to be insane. Why would something that doesn't exist be used to negate something else that doesn't exist? But he says, hey, this is the fucking conundrum of it all. Yeah, he has it in his writings and the same thing. So you think that finally that which you are is going to have a say. It doesn't say anything in a way. Yeah, it just is. There's not one moment that you haven't been wet. That's why the fish never gets it's in the water, because it doesn't have anything to compare it with. It doesn't know it's in the water because it's always been in the water. Yeah. So this idea of wanting to know what we are is predicated on an insane idea that we're not that. And that's the only way you can have that the imaginary joy of finding yourself is believing you've lost yourself. And usually the loss of self becomes more relevant than the finding it, because most of the times you'll find it and then lose it again. Even while at first you wanted to lose it for the joy of finding, but now you don't want to lose it and you lose it anyway because something got set in motion. Yes? You're bound to lose what you find. But if you are it and there's no finding, there's no fear of losing. Yeah. It's just like, I don't need any strategy right now to stop drinking. I'm in a state of not starting. Yeah. It changes everything. Not starting has very little demands. Needing to stop, unbelievable. Unbelievable. Not starting, no. And this is a beautiful sense of abstinence. You abstain from the thinker while noticing thoughts. There's an abstaining. There's no you abstaining, but there's an abstaining to the feeler while there's feelings going on. And so then the feeling, when it wants to present itself as false evidence appearing real, can't reach the appearing real because it's dependent on us seeing it as real. It can't make itself real. It's false evidence. That's its nature. So for it to seem to take another nature and appear real, it must be given reality by us. Yeah? And how is it given reality by us? By that which is not observed, which isn't the thoughts, but the thought that implies a thinker, that one. Yeah? Because the thought that implies a thinker is just one of zillions of thoughts. But it's the one thought that stands above the others and takes a position that it's the thinker of all the rest. Yeah. Now we may be super clear and like the eye of Sauron, going on the mental landscape, looking at all the thoughts and not, swallowing any of them, but we've swallowed the biggest one, the thinker. Yeah. And that's why what you believe would happen or the relief you thought was coming doesn't show up, because you're still there. Yeah. You're still there. It's a perfect diagnosis. Yeah. If there's a lack of contentment and satisfaction, there's a presence of what you're not, in a sense, because it doesn't get satisfied or content. It's addictive in nature. Yeah, it wants more. Or it's, looks at others as they're getting ahead on the race or whatever. It has a very strange way of looking, very myopic. And I mean, you can, maybe open the aperture a little with a lot of work, but basically its tendency is the myopicide. It likes the myopic thing. It feels familiar with that. So if you're not watching, it's back myopic. But if you can see that from the myopic, not trying to imagine the panoramic from the myopic, you see the myopic from the panoramic. And there's some mercy there, there's grace, whatever. You find a forgiveness that you wouldn't find. I remember in AA, they want you to look at the people you thought harmed you as perhaps they're sick and forgive you. It was difficult for that to work. Yeah. In a lot of ways. Yeah. I mean, it was like the acne didn't disappear with the ointment. It just covered it up, but it was still, the acne was, it's there. So There is a better way or a solution, which is to lose interest in the center, the hub of the wheel, which is the idea of the identification as the thing. Yeah. The thing that's doing all this shit, thinking all this shit, feeling all this shit. Yeah. It almost fails it in a way because picturing all this claiming as a body works. Yeah. So every time there's a claiming of being the thinker, it's put on the body. But in another way, it doesn't work because you can see you're not the body. So you may not be able to see you're not the doer or not the thinker or not this, but you can come to a sense, at least a logical idea that you're not the body. Yeah. And then you'll see all the attributes the body has been given, and maybe it will lead to I'm not that, I'm not that. Yeah. So let me read something else. Do you mind? Are you following? I can't see shit. I'm in a like the aquarium of Zoom. Is that a tiger fish or what the fuck? Snail? All right, so reality, here's again. Now, don't argue with me. This isn't my book. This is someone who is writing with great devotion what Ramana Maharshi was saying. So take it up with him. Reality, being yourself, there is nothing for you to realize except you're not going to be the one that realizes. Reality, being yourself, there is nothing for you to realize. All that is required is that you should give up regarding the unreal as real. Yeah. Yeah. Is that a huge demand? It's sort of like, the huge demand of acceptance, but really acceptance is not wanting to change anything that's happening right now. I don't want someone who isn't here to be here. I want, yeah. So basically acceptance is just leaving every fucking thing alone. Yeah. Truly. So here, I mean, that's not much work. This sounds just like, yeah. All right. So all that is required is that you should give up regarding the unreal as real, which is what all are doing. The object of, let me go to another one. There is no use removing doubts. This is beautiful. If we clear one doubt, another arises, and there will be no end of doubts. All doubts will cease only when the doubter, really to me, I'm not hoping for the ceasing of doubts. What I'm hoping for is a loss of interest in doubts by the loss of interest in the doubter. Yeah, they're going to the absolute. I've realized in the West, it's not going that far. So let's just, instead of no harm done, less harm done. So we're looking for a little relief from all the doubts having so much meaning by weakening the idea of being the doubter. Yes? Yeah. And maybe you'll lose interest or lose interest in the need that all things must cease. Maybe you'll be able to cohabitate in a giant space where doubts appear. Yes? And those doubts won't have an effect on your underlying peace. Yeah? Yeah. Seek for the source of the doubter, and you find he is really non-existent. Doubter ceasing, doubts will cease. Let's say loss of interest in doubter, loss of interest in doubts. Yeah. All right, so here, yeah, that's about it in this one. Pretty nice, eh? Don't you see? You can't explain why you use what you don't use, but why is there a meeting like like they have those like two presidents of two countries, a detente or whatever. They have a meeting. We're going to meet two royalties from a non-existent fiefdom, and just let one of them, let's say the more powerful one, ask the other one, who are you? Yeah, with the hopes that when that stops, this will suddenly, because they're the same. So if that gets, what happened? Yeah. There's not a, see, the idea that one disappears and the other doesn't. Oh, here they come. Hey, we're gonna move the meeting to the house. We'll call, let's go. Let's get back in the cars. So, all right, so if you have any questions here, and again, the emphasis, oh, thank you, but I'll have it a little later. The emphasis isn't on self-inquiry. The emphasis on pointing out the policeman thief thing, which is when the policeman arises, it objectifies, yes, the thief. And it masquerades, and you don't see the connection or the sameness of the thief and policeman, because now the policeman is really identifying as the subjectiveness. And now it's talking about an objective self. And it has absolutely, it truly believes that it's not that. That's why it's so beautiful when something comes to, when something stops talking, the other stops asking. Wait a minute, I turned this light off and the light went off. Wait, you know what I mean? You ever see those movies where they've lost a person and they make a phone call and it's in the other room, phone's ringing, and they realize, Jesus, same. They're totally surprised. They think they went to India or somewhere. Wait, it's ringing. Exactly. Who am I? Who's asking? So we were going over, I'm going to repeat it just for my faithful friends, John, formerly of something, and Chris. We did a talk the other day about this. We're just looking at self-inquiry, not as the practice, but as what it's pointing out. So he says it very clearly. When we inquire, who am I? We're both all familiar with it, yeah? The I concerned is the ego, or we would call it selfing, yeah? You get it? So the who am I is asking, we are asking the ego, who are you? We think, yeah? It is that which makes the inquiry also. So the one who's asking, who am I, is also not us. So the one that's being asked, I want to know, who are you? And the one that's asking it, both are not us. Both. That's beautiful, yeah? The self, the big S, yeah? The awareness has no inquiry. It's just, you know, it's the epitome of seeing, so it's not seeing. Yeah. That which makes the inquiry is the ego. That which is made, to the inquiry is the ego. Both, the duality, the non-duality. See? The non-duality, the negation of what? That which is being asked through inquiry and that which is asking. Both, yeah. Yeah. So, thiefman police, so he goes here. To ask the mind to kill itself is like making the thief the policeman. So now, that which you want to get rid of, you ask for its fucking help to get rid of itself. Not knowing that two, they're not one in the same, they're two in the same. Two in the same. So he will go with you, of course. It's like Dracula will go on all the vampire hunts. It's a perfect way to disguise that it's the mother of all vampires, or father. He will go with you and pretend to catch the thief, of course. I've transcended. I've lifted above the lower cloud level. I finally can see, but not that. He will go with you and pretend to catch the thief, but nothing will be gained. So you must turn inward and see where the mind rises from. Existence, yes. We don't have to go to the great pool of onness. We are onness. Yeah, we're here. I mean, yeah. Against all volition and shit you're on, against what you thought the thoughts would erase, you're on. Its existence is just pulsating. Yeah, and we were talking about it. The self-inquiry is beautiful because it's a much shorter trip to go back to the source than to go forward to the source, because you can get lost for 50 years, 80 years going forward to the source. Only a few steps back and you'll realize it. Yes? That's the beauty of satsang and self-inquiry. We're not asking you to go on any pilgrimage or journey or crusade. Just sit here, fucking disarmed, and there you go. You'll slip and you'll fall right back into that goal you wanted to arrive at. Slip on the banana peel and you wait. You'll take care of all the journeys you were planning. So I wanted to go back. He says this beautifully. Reality being yourself, he says this a lot, Ramana, yeah? Reality being yourself, there is nothing for you to realize, except there's nothing for you to realize. That would be good. All that is required is that you should give up regarding the unreal as real. Yeah. How difficult is that? Because let's say you're in the habit, there's no you, but let's say there's a mental habit of taking false evidence to appear real. That can be adjusted. It's not an infinite setting of the aperture. It was open before, it sort of got tunnel vision, and it open again. Very easy, yes? Maybe through repetition, which is what we do, satsang. Yeah. So all that is required is that you should give up regarding the unreal as real. It doesn't say regard the real as real. You don't need to. It's real. It will inform you. It will override you. It will fucking avalanche you. Not you, but that. Reality will be obvious. But all you need to do is see what's unreal as unreal. Yeah. How every second? No, maybe just a few, and then yeah. Now you'll be in the habit of seeing the unreal that used to appear real as unreal. Because we are the trigger of it appearing real. Yes? Something that's unreal doesn't leap up the evolutionary scale and appear to be real. It's always unreal, but it appears to be real to us. Yeah? Us, that is reality. So we're giving reality to unreal things. Let's say we start here. There's a giving of reality to this unreal thing, and obviously, when we meet more unreal things, we give reality to them. Yeah, thoughts, feelings, people, places. Yes, causes, uncaused effects, all this shit. Yeah. So the object of all meditation, which is what the object of all meditation is only that, to give up all thoughts regarding the non-self. Well, we're just going to try to give up the non-self as a thinker, and then you'll learn how to live with no thought, with thoughts. Yes? Yes. This isn't going to be what kicking them off the property. They're going to graze over here. We're going to lounge over here. Yeah, their grazing isn't going to really bother us. Yeah, us and our being free from them won't bother them. Yeah, beautiful. The idea of absolute cease, destroy, kill, I don't think it works, especially for the people I've met. They get fooled by the lack of a sudden whack. They don't understand that the peace doesn't come after something, it's before everything. Yeah, it doesn't come after, it's not a result because you've come to a certain conclusion and then the door springs open only because it's you. No, it's there before. Yeah. All right, so here, I like this. What's the best way of killing the ego? To each person, that way is best. Listen to this. I'm hoping. I'm gonna have to verify this is from Ramana, because this is a pretty big backdoor. What is the best way of killing the ego? To each person, that way is best, which appears easiest or appeals most. You mean you don't have to swallow some big fucking spiritual pill? No. Do I have to be sweating and fucking? No. Do I have to abandon everything? Doesn't seem like it. That wouldn't be the easiest way to me. And that appeals to me. Yeah. It appeals to me that that which I've been looking for my whole life is readily available at all times with no requirement necessary on my part. Fucking far out. I sign up for this. This is page 17, third paragraph. Yeah. So he goes, all the ways are equally good. What? All the ways are equally good. But again, as the Course in Miracles would inject, it may take a lot of time. Yeah. So you going looking for the source is going to succeed sooner or later, but it could be way later. Yeah. Just there's just so many. You're going to spend a lot of steps going towards something you could just fall back into now. So forward, backward, I think is opposite, really. What we think is forward, I think is backwards. All right. So all the ways are equally good as they lead to the same goal, which is the merging of the ego and the self. Hey, there's no need for merging. Hey, Laura. Next week, we're just gonna put up a different, we're gonna put up different addresses and numbers, and you gotta pick the right one. Let's see what happens.
There goes my degree.
All right, so wait a minute. We're gonna do this when we go to coffee, we'll go over this again. I can't do it 3 times.
Well, please don't.
The same people, they're getting mad. The Zoom is getting upset. They want to ask a question. But let me just add this. All the ways are equally good as they lead to the same goal from whence we never left. Yes? On having never left. The same goal that we're all going to arrive at is going to chorus one statement, on having never left. Doesn't matter how fast or slow you got there, it's going to relieve you of all of it by saying, on having never left. Yeah, so what the bhakti or devotee calls surrender, the man who does inquiry calls knowledge. Both are trying to take the ego back to the source from which it sprang and make it merge there. We're not suggesting that. Yeah, don't try it. Don't try to go back to the source and make it merge. I don't think I don't know. We need a lot more practice before we do that. Or why don't we just give up on that idea? Why don't we just, let's not have the absolute football field. We're gonna make the 10-yard line goal line. Yeah, just put the ball as if you've reached it and let grace take you the rest of the way. Yes? All right. Okay, everyone, let's open up, Mike.
Okay. No hands right now.
I'm gonna give Nora another talk at the coffee place. We've done this 3 times now. Anyone have any question?
Not yet.
Do you sort of get the sense of what we're attempting to express?
Bruce raised his hand. And now John S. You ready for Bruce?
Hi again. Hi, everyone. T-shirt weather, huh? By the way, clarification, Paul, this is my dining room. I'm sitting at my dining room table, not the attic.
Oh, you're in the dining room. I think the attic made to look like.
It's actually a flat roof.
We're on sea level. Or yeah, we've got a little altitude.
It's a flat roof mobile home, 1970.
Okay.
Okay. So as you began to talk, you know, how many times does someone say I as they're talking? It's
Yeah,
like
what-
every
get out of
sentence starts out with the I. And no, not that there's anything wrong with anything. But you know, then the awareness of that, and then it kind of not being the thinker in kind of like a conscious blackout. So not even that I am awareness, and then you know the self and the I. So yeah, when you know then there's no thoughts, no thinker, no thoughts. I had been so used to for the last few years, you know, sharing what's you know learned from this meeting, you know, at other meetings which are you know say spiritually oriented, you know, ascension, transcending, you know, all that stuff, you know, seeking.
the other meetings.
And so I'm sure, you know, so like a noticing that my attention no longer, you know, applies. And there's nothing to think about it. And there's no one. So it's just weird, you know, this is my meeting with others outside of that, um, that sense of being alone. So anyway, that when you bring up that, it's like the assuming of everything the I starts out assuming an identity. Now that, yeah, the playing of an identity is fine. And you've often mentioned presumption. I kind of forget if you could, I don't know if you have any thoughts about that. Presuming.
Well, presuming is sort of like the presupposing that they talk about, Ramana, which is,
Okay, the presupposing.
yeah.
And then it was
the-
mentioned that we're not, you know, even grace is not something apart from, you know, that, you know, grace, again, attaching an identity to something. But anyway, yeah, this world of duality as a human being. Oh man, thank you all for being here, because I guess you can all imagine what it would be like without it. So
Remember,
thanks
the
again.
presuming is what's used to imply a someone. There isn't a someone presuming.
Right.
The narrative does the turnaround with the horse and the cart, and then its whole story is the cart is in front of the horse. So
And
that's the presupposing or the presuming. So there's huge false evidence being presumed to be so, which lends a logic to the rest of the narrative. Yeah. But if you see the narrative from outside of it, it's insane. Yeah. That's all. And then we try to share a lot of things to try to trigger that feeling of insanity. I don't want to be right about everything. I don't care. The stuff we're saying is to trigger something else. I could care less about knowing how things work. What I want to share is something, by sharing that, there's a package that gets delivered. Yeah. And I have it by giving it away. So there's a package. There's a delivery of a package through this gets delivered. Yeah. And it's never the wording or the little note that came with it or this thing in the envelope. Yeah. Not the manual and anything like that. It's a sense of something like, yeah, where, wow, I don't need to know. I don't need to figure it out. Uh, you know, I'm not qualified to be a judge of any behavior, to tell you the truth. I'm living above my pay scale as it is. And just sort of, yeah, dumb as works on a lot of levels for me now. Yeah.
So I guess so I think, so the feeling I'm having is that, yeah, almost like a void at that moment, that it's, you know, that recognition. And
Yes,
then
well,
and then the sensing, well, aware of the sensing of self. And
Yeah.
then, so that's where I feel I'm at. And it's weird. It's like,
Well, to
weird.
who? To who is it weird?
right. That's, yeah, it all just goes back. Yeah.
Exactly. It's like you're in a laundromat and
Oh.
they give you 3/4. You just rinse, repeat, rinse, fucking, and you're never gonna get out of the cycle. That's the good news. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you
You don't
for,
get out of the cycle.
thank you.
The understanding isn't to lead you out of the cycle, it's to tell you you're not in the cycle. Yeah, even though it feels like it and everything like that. At one level, it doesn't budge. It's not true. Yeah, so you can describe the cycle and you can describe that while the shirts and the ideas and the books and the DVDs are getting, rinsed and everything, you can feel the desire, the grasping, wanting to know this. You see it. It's like the stains in everything. Yes, and the true washing of the shirts comes from outside the washer. It's us, the awareness of it, seeing it. Yeah, seeing the grasping and not thinking you're the grasper, seeing that which desires and you're not the source of the desire. Yeah.
And
Once
everyone's into like
wants to show
seeking.
itself, the guilt doesn't push it down. It's not you, so you can see it in all its glory and just sit there while another one pops up. No, you just see it as not you, and there's a relief that doesn't come after an hour workout. It's a relief that's not of the muscles, or it's another type of relief that's available.
So
Yeah.
it's like the I am, and then seeking to put something else, and then there's, the I am not, and to just leave it at that. And of course, there's no one to leave it at that. But okay, so thanks, and let someone else go.
Hey,
Appreciate
Bruce,
it.
let's just say, based on what we read today, there's the
Yeah.
I, then there's something masquerading as the I am, called Paul, and then we're going to use another aspect of the I am Paul to ask the other I am Paul, yeah, who am I? Or from whence do you come? And then the one Paul is waiting to feel what it'd be like the absence of this, but they're the same thing.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, that's what that's what it. Okay. Thank
See,
you.
people
That's what it's from.
one aspect and have the other defeated. It's like the same coin. You can't, this is dualistic event. And so no matter how many times you cut the coin, it has to have two sides, be a coin. It just doesn't, it's just the way it goes. So the one side thinks the other side is completely foreign. And it just doesn't get, yeah, I've never been a thief. Yes. And until it does, and then when it does, it's very difficult not to see it after you've shown. It can be impossible to see it if it hasn't been shown, but after it's been shown, it's difficult not to see it. It's out like a huge thumb, two thumbs, fighting like this. I won. Who's the I? Wait a minute. I lost. Who's the what? Wait a minute. I won. I lost. What? No. Win loss doesn't make fucking any sense. Yeah. Nice to see you.
And then you do that. Yeah. Okay. Let someone else go. Thanks, Paul. Thanks, everyone.
My ex-girlfriend just drove away with a guy on a Harley, 1973. He looked a lot better than me. I lost the spread of the satsang. I was interested in hearing how that engine sounded. It sounds better than my 1950 Chevy truck. I have shrunk in my mental eyes. I'm off the rails today. It's fine. We're laying down new rails. Yeah, why not? Yes? Why live in the little railroad track. You remember you used to get those boxes when you were a kid, and all you
Yeah.
wanted was to extend it, get more rails and add a church and more people and just build the thing. Yeah. We're laying down some new track. Yeah. All right, anyone else, Mike?
Yep, John S. from Florida.
We're gonna go have coffee, eh? All of us? Yes? Yes? Hope so.
Hey, Paul.
But not now.
I was just making sure my security was sound. We are going somewhere after the meeting. Go ahead. Who?
Thanks, Paul. Thanks, Mike, for letting me in, man. I bought this book about the collected works of Ramana Maharshi, Paul. I was just wondering, you familiar with it? And like I say, it's real for me. It's like really slow, difficult reading, and it's amazing that you're talking on what you're talking, because what I wanted to run by you was just a couple sentences that kind of made sense, but kind of didn't, and
Well, hold on one second. He's speaking about collected works of Ramana Maharshi. I think that's are they the collected talks of Ramana Maharshi? Well, it doesn't matter.
yeah. It's awesome, by the way. And I see a lot of of your message in here, and
well, it's not my message, and
well, the message. I'm sorry, yeah, and
I'm still wearing pants. I'm way in another league.
you mentioned getting rid of the obstacles in the mind, if you will, and the doubt and whatever, resentment and all that stuff, and I finally got what you were saying with the thief and the police. I had trouble understanding that for a while.
Yeah.
But I had an experience the other day, just sitting out in the patio where some stuff was coming in, and I just looked at them both, and they just went away. And it's happened a bunch of times. But with that focus of seeing them both at the same time for what they are, and they went away, and then I come across this little couple sentences. And here it says, after the mind has been resolved in the heart. And to me, that's what happened, what was going on, resolved in the heart, capital H, right?
Yeah.
And, there was only consciousness shining. And that was the experience. I'm like, dude, that worked, where you're just kind of like, you're just okay. There's no great, like you say, there's no great bombs going off or anything. You're just good. But it's cool. It goes on and it says, the heart, after it resolves in the heart, there's only consciousness shining, when thus the mind has assumed the form of self, small m mind assumed the form of capital self. Okay. Yeah. Who is there to inquire? It's funny you're talking about inquiry today, right? Such inquiry would result in self-worship, small s, right? It would be like the story of the shepherd searching for the sheep all the time on his shoulders. And that's it. You just delivered that entire message today, and I was going to ask you about it, but it's like you totally cleared it up. But I wanted to maybe riff on that for just a minute, man. If it does make sense of what you're talking.
Go back on the video and just play it again. You got it.
Okay. But thanks, man. I mean, it's a lot out of these satsangs, man.
You don't have no idea, whatever babies come out, they've been cut off from any umbilical cord. They just go out, yes, and hopefully they bring you good news. And the idea of the heart not being a dualistic rec room, yes. Therefore, the light doesn't get refracted. It goes, the undifferentiated light shines undifferentiated, which for many of us, we're getting a reflective light basically through the head. So the undifferentiated light is, we're trying to see it after its differentiation and trying to give it all the meaning we can from that flaw, FLAW, of vision, yeah? But the heart clears that up very clearly, because it's not, it doesn't have two lenses that are refracting one and another. It's just there. Yes. And then he said what? The light shines, the consciousness,
Yes.
light of consciousness shines uninterrupted, whatever. Yes. You get those senses. That's what's beautiful about those books. You're gonna have a sense of what they're speaking of before you read it. And then when you read it, it's gonna, it's like re-triggering an avalanche that you thought was a wonder of nature, but it can be re-triggered. By hearing the statement again, it re-triggers the same avalanche. It's like the same yodel that set off the avalanche, but not, there's less notes needed, and just, yeah. So, yeah. I was moved. I read the talks of Ramana, a lot of them. And you'd go through a lot of stuff because he was speaking to the people, which is the way to go. And then you'd run into nuggets along the way that would just blow your mind, to the point I wanted to go see where he lived. So I went to India by myself, went to see this guy Ramesh first, and then I went to where he lived and stayed there for 3 weeks, and went into a cave where he supposedly stayed in for quite a while, not saying shit, because his first hope, Ramana, as an expression of this, was he figured the best way to get through to everyone is silence, and that proved not to be true in his case. So he started talking after 9 years or something, I don't know. And then the first thing he grabbed onto was something that came in from the earliest scriptures, the Vedas, self-inquiry. He says, well, if you got to do something, this is basically the best thing you can do. And then he added on to that, which is, hey, if you're overmatched concerning this, surrender. Thy will is done, basically. So he came to two conclusions. It's either through self-inquiry or surrender. Yeah, basically. Yeah, if you have the ability to look at the origins of the misery, which is false evidence, or if you don't, just turning your life over to the care of this power, knowing you're going to be taken care of. Now, not knowing you will be if you do a lot of shit, but now, yeah. So these, and again, just like the self-inquiry uses what it's not to ask what it's not, it's the same thing. Surrender is an aspect of dreaming, yeah? Right. And it's being used to dream oneself out of the dreaming. Right. Self-inquiry is an aspect of the dreaming. It's an incredible aspect of the dreaming. You asking what you're not, from what you're not. You can't get more dreaming than that, yes? You're using the dreaming to dream oneself out of the dreaming. Now, who wants to describe what it's going to look like? It looks different to Tyler than it does Nick or me. No, not. Yes, but the process, it's almost like an inevitability is occurring, yeah? Because we're not of the dream. So we are all on one level or another, and there is an us, but in the dream, there's an us as a focal point. That us collectively is dreaming themselves out of the dream in zillions of different ways, where failures are seen to be successes, successes are seen to be, it can, no rhyme or reason, and the head loves to hang on to some fucking idea, even though it's not true, but just for the sense of a weird security. And then sooner you finally let go, and those hands that you thought were hands turn into wings. You travel lighter. Yes. And you read a book or you don't read a book. They both can be used to dream oneself out of the dreaming. Maybe at one point, the books were incredibly they were like, I needed a stone, to go through the garden, yeah, a paver to put my foot down. I didn't know how to just go, yeah. But then after going through the garden, the next time I go through the garden, I don't need the paver, let's say. So yes, all dreaming oneself out of the dreaming. John, you, so. A lot of this stuff, maybe there's in 500 pages, all there needs to be only one that clicks for you. And there it is. You find it. Yeah.
Yep.
Clicks. And then you'll get answers now that are going to be solutions later. You don't understand why you're understanding something, and in a year or two you realize, oh, that's exactly what's going on. I'm progressing as I'm going backward. You know, and then you realize the thing that sees things as paradoxes is just wrong thinking. It's a failed system. It can't grasp what's going on. It just tries to, but it can't. It's over its head, over its pay scale. So, but I like that terminology of the Course, which is you and I are dreaming ourselves out of the dreaming. And as we do, the dream gets happier. Yeah. I would like the word content for myself, and a sense of satisfaction, which is really just the opposite of that clawing desire of constant looking for something. Yeah. So, yes. Thank you, John, for that.
Thank you, Paul. It's great, man.
Yeah.
Thanks, John. You ready for Mark?
Yes. I can't see him, but I'm ready for it.
Hey, Paul, I just want to thank you for doing this. I've a year ago today, I had a liver transplant, you know, and but before that had happened, I had things happen that totally revolutionized my life and the way that I saw things. And when I listen to you talk and how you put things together, it's like, as you say it, I've seen it, like the self inquiring about the self and then condemning the self. It's like there are times absolute stillness and peace. It's beyond words, but I'm in absolute stillness and peace. I will, however, sometimes I will engage in like I'll buy the thought. Instead of watching the thought, I'll listen and I'll dive in. And I guess the judgment is, or the self comes in and says, oh man, why are there must be something wrong with you. You know, I mean, you know what I mean? Yeah. That whole dialogue of self will come in and then I get to see it and break away from it and return to the stillness and the peace. I got to tell you, it's true freedom, and it's like life. And in that place, I'm connected to everything. It's a oneness, but I'm connected to all. It's the most. I see, and it's only happened, like, you know what I mean. It happened a long time ago, and things continue to happen, and I still get blown away by it. I still think I never knew that the kind of life that I have today, and I know I'm using a lot of dualistic language. I'm not really used to talking about it, but I'll tell you what, man, it's just beyond anything that I could imagine. I am so eternally grateful. I can't tell you. So I just wanted to thank you, man. You just break it down in such a clear way that even I can see it.
I was thinking about you all this time, Mom. This whole missionary endeavor was for you to hear this. So I can now retire. Have a big latte today and feel satisfied with myself. Finally, I delivered the package. All right, hey, bro. I watch you. You know, I watch everyone's faces, and I can see. Yeah, you're chewing on the nectar essence sometimes. So that's great. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Mark. And now we have another Mark Nelson.
All right, and after that, I think we're gonna end it. What time is it? All right.
Paul, would you mind if we do like a couple minutes of ritual at the end before we close? I have something in mind that I'd like to do that I think would.
Well, ask Michael, but I'm not gonna, no, I don't wanna do it on the platform. That's all right.
Okay.
Unless they want to, I don't want,
Yeah.
just,
It's
like
just a
this.
prayer for
Yeah. Let me get this guy and then we'll
people that
talk
are as
about it.
privileged as we are right now.
Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi guys. It's
Yes.
been a long time. It's been a while. Paul, I've been listening to your videos all along over the weeks. It's like a staple sort of routine that I have. Not because well, I'm gonna that's a lie. It's not that I don't feel I need it, but it's a reminder. The last time I spoke to you on the Zoom, I told you that I was traveling lighter. And that's still the case. There's a lot going on in my life. I did send you an email. I know you're aware of it. There's a lot going on, Paul. The funny thing is, I'll give you an example. Yesterday, I had a situation where I won't go into detail what happened, but it was pretty dramatic what happened. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. I was just wondering if these people, so, yes, go ahead.
Okay. And it was pretty traumatic. There's a lot that went on.
God, it was last week.
Sorry?
Thank God it was last week.
Well,
Yeah.
it happened yesterday, but it felt like it was last week. But that's the point. Today, it felt like it was a long time ago, because since recognizing that things happen, but it's not me literally that is going through the situations. You can't stop things from happening because we coexist with other people, but it doesn't have to linger. It really doesn't have to. I've been laughing and joking with my granddaughter today and with my sister who just came from Atlanta, Georgia. She's staying with us for Christmas, etc. Paul, you wouldn't think that what happened yesterday happened, but it doesn't mean that I'm not aware of it and don't think about it and not trying to look for a pail of water to address whatever. But my life doesn't feel weighted with situations and circumstances. It's nothing amazing. It's not mystical or nothing. It's dog shit awareness, as you say, but I don't feel weighted, Paul. I don't feel weighted, and it helps me to have more clarity. I've got more space to address things that I need to address, etc. So I'm just sharing really with others to let them know that there's nothing special. It really isn't, but you feel you've got space. You feel you've got room. You can sigh and you don't put your hand in your head in your hands, etc., because you don't feel that you are what is actually happening. Something's happening, you can see it's happening, but it's not you. And I just want to say again, just thank you, Paul. It's an ongoing thing, so to speak, but it's really made a difference in my life at a time where nothing else seemed to make sense. And the more I talk to others and I'm not knocking Christianity or any of the faith, nothing like that, I'm not bothered, to be honest with you, because it's neither here or there. But I'm open to conversation. But the more I speak with people, the more they sort of say, "Mark, you're making sense," and I'm nothing special, but it's because I'm not trying to hook onto something to get a feeling, to feel heard, or to feel like I'm part of something. It's none of that. If I'm making sense, I hope I'm not waffling.
No, you're making, that's travel, that's a diagram of traveling lighter.
Yeah, that's all I want to share with you,
Just
Paul.
like we have observations of when we were traveling heavy, it's nice to just put into words observations when we're traveling lighter as a demonstration.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I'm being totally truthful.
Yeah. The head likes to forget miracles in about half an hour. So sometimes you've got to like build like a temporary temple on a moment and demonstrate it and open the doors for others. And this is lighter. This isn't, we're not, it's hard to gauge traveling lighter. First of all, you lose interest in gauging things.
Yes.
Really tell but the living of it is profound. But it's
Yes.
sort of like,
Mhm.
all right, I traveled 10% lighter this time at that moment, and what, I'm falling, you know?
Yeah.
But the vagueness of it produces a very, very large gratitude and wonder and awe. Yeah, that's what
Mhm.
so
Yeah.
you're going to be propelled, or as they say in recovery, you're going to be used. To use or employ means to use. You're going to be used. Some wind is going to blow the sail, and what journey you're going to be on is going to be based on that wind.
Yeah.
Yeah, the sail. The sail doesn't have any engine. Doesn't have any fucking direction. It's catching a direction and a force, which is the wind, and we're like that. Yes, and so.
Yeah.
You can tell the good, like Jesus says, you'll know the tree by its fruits.
Mhm.
You can get a sense of the wind by where it directs you and how
Yeah.
it directs you. And if it produces certain effects of anxiety and wanting more and this and anger and resentment, that's one sort of wind. And then the other wind has a different quality. And after being blown by it for a while, there's an adhering to that quality. Yes, not as
Yeah.
yours, but as what's directing you. And then when you share, you can see it's usually can boil down to a demonstration of traveling lighter. When you have a possibility of traveling quite heavy, and I'm in contact with a lot of people who travel heavy.
Yeah.
But I also want to say one thing. My nephew, who's in recovery, called me yesterday. I could tell by his voice he hadn't drank, and I think he's going to go into this program that I had told him about in New Jersey. So we'll see what happens. So that's a nice family, and I was moved. He's a crazy dude, but he said, why aren't you calling his sister, Christine? Because I don't talk to the family much. So I called her this morning, and she had heard I've been in touch with him. They don't engage. And I could pass on the good news that he may have a sober Christmas this year, which is
Yeah.
fantastic. Yes. So, yeah. There you go. Thanks, Ma. Thank you.